Cooking the perfect steak on a grill is a lot easier than you think. In this video, I'm going to cut through all the BS and give you a straightforward guide to follow. Everything from choosing the perfect cut of meat to cutting and serving the steak to your loved ones. I'm glad you found my channel, so let's dive in. Choosing the perfect steak. You have to start off with a high quality cut of meat, like ribeye, New York strip, or filet mignon. There's also some great underdogs too, but a lot of you probably have never heard of. Steaks like flat iron and hanger steak. One of my personal favorite steaks is actually steak picanha, which is considered the queen of steaks. So what should you look for that perfect cut of meat? Look for marbling, which is fat that runs through the meat. The more marbling that you have, the higher the quality and the more flavor. But it also means that you're gonna have to pay a little bit more. But in my opinion, it's worth it for the extra tenderness and flavor. Thickness is also very important. Aim for at least 1.25 inches thick for even cooking. But honestly, I personally prefer 1.5 inch cuts to allow for that perfect sous vide-like edge-to-edge doneness with no gray bands. Having thicker cuts of steak gives you more temperature control and allows you to, control that perfect doneness to whatever temperature that you prefer. So how should you prepare your steaks? Well, first off, I highly recommend that you dry brine your steaks in the refrigerator overnight. Dry brining is incredibly important, and I have a video all about it. But what you're actually doing is you're allowing the salt to penetrate through the meat, which maximizes flavor, but it also draws out moisture from the steak. Trust me, this extra step could be worth it in the long run. And then when you pull the steak out of the fridge, it's incredibly important to bring the steak to room temperature for at least 30 minutes before grilling. This is also called tempering, and it allows the steak's core to level out a bit, which again results in better edge-to-edge doneness and also allows you to control the temperatures while cooking. Season generously with salt and pepper, or use your favorite steak seasoning, whatever you prefer. Salt is actually incredibly important to master because salt brings flavors forward. Use kosher salt like Diamond Crystal. I actually have a video on salt, and I will leave a link to all of these videos that I'm mentioning in the description of this video. So, know how to use salt. Salt will actually improve your cooking by twofolds, and in general, salt is incredibly important for cooking. So what about your grilling techniques? Well, here's another really important technique. We're gonna set up 2-zone cooking. Add our coals to one side of the grill for high heat and leave the other side cold. We'll be placing the steak on the cold side. I made a video on how to start and troubleshoot a charcoal grill. Again, you're gonna find a link in the description of this video. If you are using a gas grill, turn on the burners for half of the grill, leaving the other side off or low. Now, preheat your grill. This is a really important step. Just like a pan, a grill, or any cooking instrument needs to be preheated to allow heat soaking and compensation for when the cold meat hits the grates. Otherwise, you will get sticking, and the heat transfer that's required to cook the food won't happen properly. We don't need to go nuts here, because we will be using the indirect method and cook at medium heat. Allow the grill to preheat to, 450 degrees Fahrenheit for 10 or 15 minutes, and then drop the temperatures, adjust your vents or burners to about 350 degrees Fahrenheit. We want to cook the steak kind of low and slow, not too low, but be gentle with it. So with that being said, let's learn about the reverse sear method. Today we're going to cook the steaks on the indirect side of heat first, and then we're going to finish by searing to reach whatever desired doneness you want. Place the steaks on the cold side of the grill, and I highly recommend a wireless meat thermometer to monitor the cooking environments and the doneness of the meat. Preferably one that allows you to sear with the thermometer still inside of the meat. I recommend the Meter Pro or Combustion Inc.'s predictive thermometer. Meter Pro line, for example, has an ambient temperature limit for the outside sensor of up to 1000 degrees, which is plenty for searing. Close the lid and allow the steak to cook to 125 degrees Fahrenheit. Now that's if you're shooting for medium rare, which is usually around a finished temperature of 130 to 135 degrees Fahrenheit after you've seared it and rested. Today, I'm actually going to be cooking my steaks a little bit more medium than medium rare. So I'm going to be shooting for an internal temperature of 130 degrees Fahrenheit before I start searing. If you don't have a wireless meat thermometer, you can still probe your food with an instant read thermometer. It just means that you're going to have to open up your lid a bit more and kind of baby your food. Now, if you don't have a thermometer at all, go freaking get one. Now, here's a really important step, so listen up. Remember, we want that perfect edge-to-edge doneness. Remember to flip your steak halfway through. At around 105 to 107 degrees Fahrenheit or so internally, we want the steak to cook evenly on both sides. Yes, even during the indirect method. Once the internal temperature hits your desired target, it's time to sear. Remove the steak and let it rest on a plate or cutting board. If you're using a charcoal grill, open all of the vents and the lid of the grill and allow the maximum amount of airflow so the charcoal could fully heat up. They should be glowing red with the flame shooting out. This should take about 5 or 10 minutes. If you're using a gas grill, just turn up the burners, or you can use a side sear zone if your grill has one built in. Now, of course, you still need to allow that side sear zone to preheat for around 10 minutes or so. Otherwise, you're going to get a really nasty propane taste when you bite into your perfectly grilled steak. It's time to sear. So, listen up again. We need to sear the steak on each side for only 30 seconds or so and flip. So in other words, you want to continuously flip the steak on each side to get a perfect sear and that even doneness. I have a video on why, if you're interested. It's actually a really important step and it doesn't really require much more effort from you, but it gets you great results. Again, a link in the description of this video. It's really important that we get browning and that Maillard reaction, because that Maillard reaction is creating a flavorful crust. Get your desired crust though. Don't listen to anybody else. Whatever it is that you like. And if you're using that wireless thermometer, keep an eye on internal temperatures. If you want to pull the steak at around, 3 or 5 degrees from your desired final internal temperature, do it. It's absolutely okay. Which brings me to the next step, resting the steak. Once the steak is cooked, remove it from the grill and let it rest for around 5 to 10 minutes or so. This allows the juices to redistribute throughout the steak and allows the fibers to relax. It does not allow all the juices to stay inside. That's actually a myth. Cutting into a steak doesn't just magically release all the juices outside of the steak, and leaving it in to rest doesn't just magically let it absorb. You will have losses. It's actually almost identical between resting and not resting. It has more to do with the fibers and the tenderness than the actual juices. The steak will continue to cook slightly during this time, during this resting time, so keep an eye on it with that thermometer again and watch those internal temperatures. Like I said before, once it hits your internal temperature, it's okay to cut in. And likewise, if it's rising too quickly, no worries. Cut when you're ready, even if it's only rested for a few minutes. It's actually going to be fine. So that actually brings me to the next step. Cut the steak against the grain for tender slices, and then make sure you plate the steak showcasing that beautiful finish, and add some finishing salt or finishing pepper, as much as your little heart desires, because it's going to add that additional punch of flavor. Finishing pepper and salt is also another important step. And then serve immediately with your favorite side dishes. Enjoy your perfectly grilled steak. That's all for me today, guys. If you found this video informative or helpful, please consider subscribing and joining our channel memberships. I'll catch you on the next video.